My name is Akankshya Upadhyay and I am your English instructor. In today's class, we will be solving the reading test portion of Unit 10, which is interpreting graphs, charts and diagrams. So let's begin. Unit 10, Reading Test. Let's begin our chapter by reading a text. This is a story and it is really very interesting and you will surely enjoy reading it. So let's begin. Once there lived a great hermit who was famous for telling the truth. He had taken a vow not to lie and was popularly known as Mr. Truthful. No matter what he did, everyone believed him because he had earned a great reputation in the community where he lived and did his spiritual practices. One evening, a robber was chasing a merchant to rob him. The merchant was running for his life. To escape from the robber, the merchant ran towards the forest where the hermit lived outside the village. The merchant felt very safe because there was no way the robber could find out where he was hiding in the jungle. But the hermit had seen the direction in which the merchant went. The robber came to the hermit's cottage and paid his respect. The robber knew that the hermit would tell only the truth and could be trusted. So he asked him whether he had seen somebody running away. The hermit knew that the robber must be looking for somebody to rob, so he faced a big problem. If he told the truth, the merchant would certainly be killed. If he lied, he would incur the sin of lying and lose his reputation. Any immoral act that may harm others is called sin. Ahimsa, or non-violence, and truthfulness are the two most important teachings of all religions that we must follow. If we have to choose between these two, which one should we choose? So this is a great story where the hermit is in a great dilemma whether to tell the truth or to lie. Now we will go towards the exercise. The first one is to complete the sentences with suitable words. The first sentence is, as he always cheats her, she blank never to speak to him. Now here, because he is always cheating her, she must have vowed never to speak to him. So to vow means to promise. So the answer is, as he always cheats her, she vows never to speak to him. The second question is, blank lives a very simple life for religious reasons. Now in this blank, a person's name can fit. So we have hermit, and we know by the text that hermits really lives a very, very simple life. So we can say hermit lives very simple life for religious reasons. Next we have it's blank to steal. Now we know that stealing is a very bad activity. It is not a moral activity. And in the text we have immoral. So here immoral fits the best. It's immoral to steal. He couldn't blank from the prison. So we know that we cannot go away from the prison. And we have a word escape in the text which perfectly fits here. So we can say he couldn't escape from the prison. People feel lack of blank values in the modern world. So people feel lack of moral values in the modern world. Because we are reading about stealing and robbing, we can say that there is a lack of moral values in modern world because stealing and robbing is an immoral activity. And finally we have, it is really difficult to earn blank as an honest person. So it's usually very difficult to earn reputation. And in the text we have that hermit was a really very reputed person. So we can say it is really difficult to earn reputation as an honest person. Now next we will number these sentences in a right order as they occur in the story. So we need to mark the sentences in order. There are 11 sentences and here it goes. Now we will mark these sentences. There are 10 sentences here and we need to mark them in correct order as they occur in the story we just read. So this is pretty easy exercise and we will get done with it within no time. So let's read it once. One evening, a robber was chasing a merchant to rob him. So we know that this sentence should be in the beginning of the story. there lived a great hermit. So I think this must be the first sentence for the story, because this is towards the very beginning of the story, right? He was famous for telling the truth as he promised not to lie. So this must come after the introduction to hermit, because this line introduces the hermit. Next, we have to get away from robber, merchant ran towards the forest. So this comes in between the storyline. He faced a big problem because he was in dilemma. So this is towards the end of the story, where he is hermit. So the hermit is in a problem because he was in dilemma whether to choose truthfulness or non-violence. Next, nobody had seen him except the hermit. So this also comes towards the end of the story. The robber came to hermit's cottage and greeted him. So once the robber comes to hermit's cottage, he realizes that the robber is going to rob the merchant, and then he comes in a dilemma, the hermit. Next, the hermit knew that robber was going to rob the merchant. This again comes towards the end, and he had to decide whether he should follow the path of truthfulness or non-violence. Here he is the hermit, and again when the robber greets hermit, he realizes, after realizing that the robber is going to ask about someone, so he thinks and he has to decide whether he should follow the path of truthfulness or non-violence, and finally he hid in the jungle. So this is in between the story plot because the merchant hid in the jungle. So let's start marking them. Now we know there lived a great merchant. After reading all the points, we know that there lived a great hermit is the first sentence, as it's introducing a character. And then now, with reference to introduction of the character, we are going a little more deep about the character, and it describes how he is. So he was famous for telling the truth as he promised not to lie. This is the second point. Now for the third point, we have one evening a robber was chasing a merchant to rob him. Now here begins the story. So this comes third. For the fourth point, we have to get away from robber, merchant ran towards the forest. So one evening when a robber was chasing a merchant to rob him, to get away from the robber, the merchant runs away. So this must be the fourth point. Now in the fifth point, we have as the merchant runs towards the forest, he must hide somewhere, right? So here in the last point, we have he hid in the jungle. So this becomes the fifth point in the story. Next, we know that nobody had seen him except the hermit. The hermit saw him because the merchant was running towards the forest where hermit lived. So while hiding in the jungle, the hermit saw the merchant, but nobody else did. So this is our sixth point. And then the robber couldn't find the merchant, and he knew that hermit would definitely see the merchant. Now the robber goes to the hermit and greets him. So the robber came to hermit's cottage and greeted him is the seventh point. Now the robber asks the hermit if he had seen somebody running towards the forest. And then the hermit, after the robber asked hermit about somebody running away in the forest, he knew that the robber was going to rob the merchant. So this becomes our eighth point. And then he is confused. The hermit now is in a big dilemma because now the hermit is in a big dilemma. So he faced a big problem because he was in dilemma, becomes the ninth point. And finally, he had to decide whether he should follow the path of truthfulness or non-violence is the 10th point in the story. So here we've marked these sentences in order as they occur in the story, and we are done. Now next we will answer the questions that relates to the story. The first question is, how did the hermit earn a good reputation? And the answer is, the hermit earned a good reputation as he was famous for telling the truth, is the answer for our first question. Next, the question is, why was the robber chasing the merchant? The answer for this question is, the robber was chasing the merchant to rob him. The next question is, who had seen the merchant in the jungle? And the answer is, the hermit had seen the merchant in the jungle. The fourth question is, was the hermit in dilemma? And the answer is, yes, the hermit was in dilemma as he had to decide whether he should follow the path of truthfulness or non-violence. So here we've come to the end of this exercise. However, I am leaving you with few homework questions. The first question is, give a suitable title to the story. The suitable title could be The Hermit and the Robber, or the title could be Dilemma itself. So place a title that you like as the first homework question. And in the second part, for the second question, you need to answer, if you were the hermit, what would you do? So as the hermit is in dilemma whether to choose truthfulness or non-violence, the story just ends in that point. So keeping or pushing the plot forward, if you were the hermit, what would you do? Maybe you would choose non-violence and lie for a good cause if you were hermit. So you can say, if I were the hermit, I would lie for a good cause and tell the robber that I did not see anyone running because I would be saving the merchant that way. Or if you would follow truthfulness, you can write accordingly. And in the second part, you need to answer, how would the story end? So once you tell the robber that you hadn't seen anyone running towards the jungle, you can say the robber was convinced by hermit's answer because hermit was very popular for not telling a lie. So the robber goes back to the city and the story ends happily. So you can write anything like this. This is all for today's class. If you have any questions, any suggestions, or anything that you wish to share with us, please feel free to write to us at learning@deerwalk.edu.np. Thanks for watching.